Unit 2 Review, Problem 3. Refer to the results of the Gallup poll presented in Problem 2 to respond to the following questions. Part A. What proportion of the people polled was in favor of the death penalty given that they were black? So to find the proportion of people that were in favor given that they were black, we notice that given was the key word here. Given redefines the total. So instead of looking at the total of 2,690 people who were polled, we're just given the blacks who were polled. That means we don't include the whites or Hispanics in this calculation. So therefore our new total is the 277 plus 415 blacks, or a total of 692. And out of this new total, the number of blacks who were in favor of the death penalty was 277. Therefore, the proportion of the people polled who were in favor of the death penalty, given that they were black, is 277 out of 692. Now, a proportion can be answered as a fraction, or a decimal, or a percent. So any of these answers would be acceptable. When writing the answer as proportion, there is no need to reduce it to lowest terms. When you divide it out and get the decimal answer, please round off your answer carrying 3 places after the decimal for round-off error purposes. And then if you multiply the decimal by 100 to convert it to a percent, make sure you round off carrying at least 1 extra decimal place on the percent, again, so that we minimize round-off error. So therefore, the proportion of people polled who are in favor of the death penalty, given that they were black, is 40.0%. Part B. Based on these results, is a person's opinion on the death penalty independent of their race? So in this question, we're trying to answer whether they are independent. Statistically, 2 events E and F are independent if it can be shown that the probability of one event E given some other event F is equal to the probability of the event E without given the other event F. So to answer part B, we need to calculate 2 probabilities. Basically the probability of the same event E, but one time when we're given some extra information about another event, and then the probability of that same event when there's not any given extra information. Here to answer part B, we could use the answer we got in part A, because we have a given probability already calculated. In this case, it's the probability that a person polled favors the death penalty given that they were black. So we can compare this 40% result to the proportion of people who were in favor without the given, that is, out of the total. So the proportion of people who were in favor of the death penalty can be found by adding up all those who were in favor. That would be the 925 plus 277 plus 394 people polled who were in favor, or 1,596 people. Then dividing that by the total number of people polled, which was 2,690. To compare this proportion to a percentage, we can convert to a percent by multiplying by 100 and rounding off, carrying the extra decimal place. We get 59.3%. Now comparing these 2 probabilities, the 40.0%, where the extra information was given, and the 59.3%, where there was no given extra information, we compare and find that 40.0% is not equal to 59.3%. When these probabilities are not equal, the conclusion is that these events are not independent. So now we're ready to answer the question. Based on these results, is a person's opinion on the death penalty independent of the race? The answer is no. And to support that answer, we can conclude this. Since the percentage of people who are in favor, given that they were black, that is the 40.0%, is not equal to the proportion of people who are in favor of the death penalty overall, the 59.3%, we conclude that these results indicate that a person's opinion on the death penalty is not independent of their race. Now, events that are not independent means they depend on each other. So here, we conclude that a person's opinion on the death penalty does depend on their race. So it appears that a person's race does indeed affect their opinion on the death penalty.